Hello, everyone. It's me, JP, and I'm here today to tell you how you can get good audio in your recordings. So I've been making video and audio content for a while now with all that pummeling. We've been it feels like I've been doing it like 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, it's been a while. And in my journey and learning how to do that, I've been learning a bit about how to improve my audio setup to make it sound a bit better, get high quality, so it doesn't sound like absolute poop. Which it did at the start.
Right. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to tonight's show. I'm T-Cat.
But hey, that's part of the learning. So, in today's program, we're going to be telling you the main bits that you might need to know to try and improve your audio quality. And we're going to be talking about the hardware itself, so that'd be your microphone or your headset, and we'll be talking about the software that you might be using to record or edit it to make it done sound good. Okay, but before we get into any of that, something that a lot of people overlook when they think like, I need to get a microphone, I need to get the best microphone ever, I need to spend £10 million on this microphone, it will sound the best microphone ever. Stop there. Have you even considered where you're going to record it? From what I've discovered in my research about recording, and people that are just starting out, is usually, they just want to get something out there, which is great, but they'll just do it in like, I don't know, their living room or like their kitchen or like in a bedroom, and it's got like wooden flooring and stuff, and it turns out it's actually a completely inappropriate place for recording. What I mean by that is you want somewhere that's going to not make the sound worse through reverberations of your voice reflecting against other surfaces, so you get feedback into your microphone, and this is sort of quite obvious when people are sort of starting out, because they just want to hit that record button, click submit, there we go, we got ourselves a video. No, where you record is very important, and I'll show you in these clips now how recording in different places can really make a big difference to the sound of the audio. It'll be a different microphone, it'll be on the microphone of this camera, so it will sound a bit different. But yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is my recording setup. I've got the two monitors behind me. I've got my microphone with the pop filter here. When I'm recording, I'm facing into this way. The idea is that I'm positioned so I'm talking towards the curtains, and the curtains will help absorb some of the sound waves that's being produced by my voice, and also behind me, or I guess it's this way now, the room is a bit deeper that way, so there's less chance of any sound waves being reflected from the walls behind me. I used to record facing sort of that wall there, and when I was doing that, I was finding I was getting a lot of reflections from the wall, where I was hearing bits of my voice back again from it sort of bouncing off of the walls like that. I sort of get that a little bit the way that I've got at the moment with these screens, because they are two just big flat things. But yeah, anyway, so I'll show you what a particularly bad recording environment would be. JP, what are you doing in the shower? This is probably the best place to illustrate a particularly bad recording environment, because you have a lot of reflective walls. These are really going to bounce back the sound. This is sort of like amplifying the effects that you might have in your recording space if you've not got things like sofas, curtains, duvets, things like that. It's all going to absorb the sound. Everything is just going to reflect straight off of the walls, and then it's going to be bounced back towards the microphone. It's going to be picked back up again. So this is why no one records anything in a shower, because it sounds terrible. I'm going to get out of the shower now. The light's bright. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the JPG strat of how you can get sick audio from your microphone. First thing you have to do is you get your microphone and then you put it in the wardrobe, and then all the clothes in here will hopefully pick up all the sound. So then when you get right up in close,
it'll sound good because all of the clothes are absorbing the excess sound waves, so you get a nice isolated sound as if you're in your own private recording booth. That's the plan, yes. Also, my cat is bothering me. Silly cat.
You see, makes a big difference. Cupboard hidden tech, great stuff. If you want to start your new big hit podcast, get yourself in that cupboard and you'll have a great sounding video. The audio that you're listening to now does have a little bit of post-processing on it. So actually it was slightly different. It's kind of active processing. But the audio that you would have heard in those clips is completely unedited. Okay, so there will be a little bit of feedback or like hiss coming from the actual microphone on the camera itself, which you could sort out in post-editing. So we've shown you how where you record is very important. To make the most of your settings, try and position yourself in a place where you're not going to be too close to reflective surfaces or like flat surfaces. If you can get yourself anywhere near curtains, get yourself in a room with carpet. If you've got things like duvets, cushions, like what you can even do. So I've got the sofa behind me there with all the mess on it, and in a way it's great because it means any sound that's going back there is getting absorbed by the sofa and all the junk on it. However, if I got those cushions from the sofa, I could put them on the walls here, and that would help my sound insulation even more. So you can think about that if you've got a particularly reflective room. So maybe you've got wooden flooring. Your whole house is wooden flooring. If you can position yourself maybe like in a corner, and you've got yourself your sofa cushions surrounding you, that's at least going to help you out in making the acoustics of your room a little bit more favourable. Next thing, so you've sorted out your recording area. What are you going to use to record? Now, when you're starting out, any microphone is sort of fine. Obviously, not all microphones are created equal, but if you have any microphone, whether it be like a webcam or like an old headset, just go with that from the start. You can do things to make it sound better. Important thing to remember, though, is that you can make a bad microphone sound better, but you can't make a terrible microphone sound amazing. Okay, it doesn't quite work like that. The audio you put in, if you put trash in, you're going to get kind of trash out. Think of it kind of like that. So let's say you have your webcam or like your laptop microphone. How can you get the best audio from that just out the gate? Okay, you want to try and position yourself reasonably close to the microphone. The further you are away from the microphone, you can hear it doesn't quite pick it out as well. You get a lot more sort of ambient noise from the room. So you want to try and position yourself nice and close to the microphone like this. Okay, actually it's not too much of an issue if you have like a headset microphone, because generally these, they're already positioned in a place that's reasonably good for you, and if you put it too close, then you can get a lot of sort of wind sound, which doesn't sound too good. So once you've positioned yourself correctly, how do you talk into your microphone? It sounds silly, I know. I make this mistake all the time on All Up Home because I get hype and I just start shouting to the microphone, and then what that can do is on your recording, there's little like sound bars and stuff, and if you go too loud, then it goes to the maximum volume that the microphone can handle, and then when it goes to that, everything above that is lost, and that's what we call clipping. And you never really want to be clipping your audio, because then you're just losing all of that, juicy hype that you're letting out. It just sounds all horrible. But what about if you don't have a microphone? If I was to go out today and try and get a new microphone, I would probably be looking at a microphone similar to this, but with a couple of little extra features. But if it's your first microphone, then you might just be happy with a gaming headset like this. They're reasonably cheap. You can get ones with pretty good microphones on them now. If I had to recommend any, these are very good for listening to sound, but the microphone's not great on them. These are Astro A40s. They are pretty passable. I've had Turtle Beaches in the past. I've had a SteelSeries. SteelSeries microphones tend to not be too good, but the sound's kind of interesting on the bass is quite nice. The Turtle Beaches, really, really good microphone in terms of quality of the sound it records. However, there is a bit of hiss and some problems with delay, particularly on my one because they were wireless. So if I was going to be getting a headset for recording, I would probably be looking at maybe like the Sennheisers or something like that. Best thing to do, honestly, is just go look up some YouTube videos on top 10 headsets in 2020 or something like that, and you can see the ones that you kind of like in your price range. But you can get cheap ones for good, like the old Turtle Beach P21s or PX21s, whatever they are. They're fine. That's what A-League been using, and it sounds great. Don't need to change it. This here is a Blue Yeti. If you haven't heard of it before, it's one of the most popular microphones for streamers and YouTubers. Does take a bit of finagling. It doesn't come with the fancy setup that I've got. It just comes on like a weird stand, and the stand itself is actually really terrible because you put it on your table and it just picks up all the vibrations from the room, and you just click record and you wonder why it sounds awful. It's also because like you don't know where to talk into it, and you're sitting on a table 10 miles away from it, so it just sounds really bad. So I've had to get this sort of retractable arm thing from Amazon. This is a Rode arm. I forgot what the actual technical term is for it. Whoops. But yeah, it's weirdly made the microphone sound better because I'm not picking up a lot of the vibrations from stuff, and I can kind of position it a bit close to my mouth to get the most out of it. However, I would consider getting a shock mount for it. Shock mounts, they just help a little bit extra absorb vibrations that come from the surface that the arm's attached to. So say if I bash the arm or something, then it would stop that. I've also got this pop filter. This is for stopping things called plosives from, they're kind of like the popping sounds when you say your P's, your T's. I think it's technical explanation is when you're sealing your airway and air builds up behind it, and then when you make the sound, the air kind of blasts out. So like B's, maybe not T's, but B's, P's, things like that. So this just takes the harshness away from that, just makes it a bit of a, I can demonstrate now. So it's a little less harsh. So all of this comes together, and it helps make the Yeti sound nicer. If I was looking to get a sort of decent microphone again, or if I was in the exact same situation I was when I was getting this, I would get the Pro version instead, because it has another audio interface that lets you, not audio interface, another cable slot where you can plug it into actual audio hardware. Mixamps. There you go. Yeah, audio interface mixers. You can plug it into them, and that's how you can really sort of get the best customization and good sound out of a microphone, without having to do all the sort of post-production stuff. So I would definitely go for something like that if I was trying to get this kind of quality now. But if I was just wanting to do it a little bit easier, then I would definitely consider, like I mentioned before, Sennheisers, maybe Turtle Beach, or if you're looking to spend a bit more, I know the Arctis Pro from SteelSeries is a little bit better on the microphone side than the Siberias were. Penis and Palpitoads has one, and it does sound quite nice. You can go see the final footage from season 5, and you can listen to his microphone if you want to know if that sounds like something you'd want. So that is a little look into the hardware side of it. Next up would be software. So let's say you've got your microphone, you made a recording, time to upload that shit to YouTube. No, it's too early for that. You've got to do some stuff to it if you want it to sound crisp, good. the best software that's free that you can use for editing your recording, I would say, is probably Audacity. It's reasonably simple to use, free to download, completely risk-free. It's good. It's good stuff. I used this when I was first starting out with All Out Pummeling. It's got most of the features that you need to kind of make audio sound good. Not all of them. You can download some plugins if you want to go that extra step. But it's pretty good. So let's say you've made your recording, or perhaps you've downloaded Audacity already and you've done your recording in Audacity. How good would that be? So what I'm going to do now is we're going to load up the old Audacity, and I'm going to give you a quick little tour of the main tools that you can use when you're recording to make it sound good. To be honest, this bit should be its own part of the video because it's own video because it's the most important bit. Right. So first of all, we need to make a recording. So I have pulled up a very nice thing about a Pokemon, a Pokédex entry, and you guys in the comments need to guess which Pokemon I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click this red button here, and that's going to record my microphone. But make sure that you've got the correct microphone in here, and whatever you want to listen to your speakers or your headset in here. Okay, so I'm going to click record, and we're going to go. Oh, before we do that, top tip, when you make a recording, leave a good couple of seconds either before you start saying anything or afterwards. You'll see why in a moment, okay? So, 3, 2, 1. While sleeping, it generates electricity in the sacs in its cheeks. If it's not getting enough sleep, it will be able to use only weak electricity. There you go. Terrible recording, but it'll do for the purposes of what we're going to do now. So we've got a recording. Should we have a quick listen? While sleeping, it generates electricity in the sacs in its cheeks. Okay, so first thing you'll notice is that when I click play, in this area where I was no talking, you want to be looking up at the bars up here. Okay, you can see this little green bit's moving. It generates... play that again. Yeah, see those little bars moving. Okay, so that is just background noise that the microphone's picking up when there's nothing going on. But with some microphones or in some places where you're recording, there can be ambient hums going on, and maybe your PC or your laptop is making some noise, and you don't really want that being picked up by your microphone and your listeners listening to it, because it doesn't sound good. Okay, what you would do to solve this is we're going to go into the effects tab. We're going to come down into first of all noise reduction. Okay. Oh, hang on. Sorry, we need to highlight the stuff. Amateur mistake. There we go. All right. So we're going to highlight. You remember that bit we said at the start where we're going to highlight? No. Remember that bit where I said, hey, leave a few seconds before or after you say anything and start recording? That is so that we can find our background noise, so we know, or so Audacity knows what it needs to be listening for to cut out. So we're going to highlight that bit, our background noise. I'm going to click on effects. I'm going to go to noise reduction. Then we're going to click get noise profile, and that's just going to be like, okay, all your background noise and your unimportant content sounds a bit like this. Okay, so then we're going to highlight everything. I'm going to click Control and A to do that, but you can just sort of highlight everything. Then we're going to go back into noise reduction, and this is now automatically set these numbers or tune these numbers to what Audacity believes would be kind of the best way to tune out that sound. Okay, so we're just going to click OK on that, and if we press play now, we should see this bar hopefully won't move at the start when there's no when I'm not talking. While sleeping, it generates electricity. Beautiful. Okay. You got to be careful with noise reduction. If you add too much noise reduction, so say you've got a really, really noisy hum in your room, you can get rid of all of that that hum with noise reduction, but it will affect the quality of the bits where you're talking. So if you heavily reduce the noise, so say let's undo what I just did. Excuse me. Let's undo that, and we are going to, so we've highlighted the whole thing, and we're going to use all of it for our noise profile. So we're going to go on get noise profile, and we're going to apply that noise reduction again. Okay, now look what that's done to the audio bars here. It's made everything a lot quieter, because we've just told Audacity that everything is noise. Okay, we've told them I'm a terrible voice actor, and Audacity's going to do its best to try and shut me up. So let's see what that listens like. What that sounds like now. While sleeping, it generates electricity in the sacs in its cheeks. If it's not getting enough sleep, it will be able to use only weak electricity. Terrible voice acting and terrible audio quality. That's what we have there. So yeah, be careful with your noise reducing. You don't want to do it too much, because it can make it sound real bad. Okay, so right, we're just going to undo that. I'll quickly get back the noise reduction to a point where it's fine. Okay, right, next thing is we want to put a noise gate onto this. What I mean by a noise gate, say if there is a sound that it's not there all the time, but it comes in maybe every now and then, maybe I'm clicking my mouse or something, and I want that noise to be tuned out, or I want all the really quiet noises to be cut out, so it only picks up the loud bits where I'm talking. And we can do that with a noise gate. I'm not sure that we've got like a little bit here, maybe. If I can zoom in on this, try and play that. What about this? I haven't really done this one, but clicking tends to be a little bit quieter than talking. So what we're going to do now is we're going to highlight everything. We're going to go to noise gate. Okay, this is just, I think it's the default settings, but you're essentially saying any audio below a certain threshold, we want to just cut out. Okay, so for noise gate, the settings we've got, I wouldn't worry too much about these. The main bits that we're worried about are the gate threshold and the attack and decay. The gate threshold, this is what volume we want the gate to cut off audio from. So minus 36, so if you think of 0 is the absolute loudest the audio in your recording can be, and then it goes all the way down to a bottomless pit. The analogy I heard from it was, think of it like a submarine. Okay, you can't go above the top of the sea, but you can go all the way down. So we've got our gate threshold at minus 36, and generally you want this to this number to be set as the point, or like one of the quietest points in your video. So you find the bits where you're clicking the mouse or whatever, you see what volume that comes in, and then you set the gate threshold to be around about that volume, so it kind of cuts that out. And then the attack and decay, this is just how quickly the gate engages, and this determines sort of like if you start talking, is it going to come in straight away, and is it potentially going to cut off some of what you're saying, or like if I'm clicking a mouse, is it going to quickly be able to catch that, or is it going to sort of engage and then slowly disengage, which that allows you, so say if you're talking and your voice varies quite a lot, and sometimes you might sort of trail off in the middle of a sentence, then that allows you to keep that from getting cut off. So best thing to do, just play around that setting, and then find out the point where all of your talking is heard and it's not cut off, but the bits that you want to be cut, you can't hear. Okay, that's the easiest way to think about it. Sorry, it's a bit waffly. It's tricky. It's technical stuff, so it's a little tricky to explain. Okay, so we've got our noise gate on there, so we're pretty comfortable that only our voice is going to be heard at this point, or at the very least, we've cut out most of the chaff. So we've got a pretty clear sounding recording. The next thing we want to do, you want to add some spice to it. And there's a few different orders in the way that you can do this, but the main tools we're going to be using an equalizer, we're going to normalize it, and we are going to compress it. These are all sort of audio technical terms, but they are super powerful tools in getting the most out of your audio. So the first thing we want to do, or the first thing that I want to do, because this is the way that I do it, is I'm going to normalize the audio. So what this means is it's going to bring up everything, the volume of everything, close to that 0 point. So if I put this as normalized maximum amplitude to 0, then it would make the loudest bit. So this, say this peak here, I think this peak's the loudest bit. It would get this bit all the way up to 0 decibels. So that's like the loudest it could be. I've got it set to -3 because I don't really like it going to -3. Also, we want to give ourselves a little bit of headroom when we add an EQ or equalizer to it. So I'm going to put that on there. You see everything has jumped up a bit. Okay, so this should be a little bit louder. Next thing I'm going to do is add on the equalizer. So we're going to go to equalization, and this is just a preset that I've made recently. Generally, I like to add bass, add a little bit of treble, normally a bit more treble than that. It kind of depends on what microphones you use. I think this was for when I was recording with the webcam, actually, and yeah, this was the way to make it sound super bassy, but probably not ideal for audio recording situations. You might be thinking like, okay, well, you know, how do you know where to do this? JP, what's this? Okay. I'm going to show you a tool that I use when I'm streaming, and actually what is churning through the audio right now to get it to sound how it is. And this is it's a plugin. It's called Reaper. I think it's more prevalent on Apple, or sorry, Mac OS rather than on Windows, but you can get some plugins for it on Windows, and this is what I use when I'm streaming. And you can see that hey, got some bars, some yellow lines going on when I talk. It go woo woo woo, and it makes it move about. So this is a tool that you can use to sort of make the bassy bit sound more bassy, and make the higher notes sound a bit better or more clearer, and also take away some of the more undesirable tones from it. Without going into too much detail of what all these bits are, down here is your bass, up here is your treble, I guess. Reason why I've got it cutting off at the ends is because I noticed when I was listening to All Out Pummeling episodes in the car, it got super boomy bassy, and I was like, how is this good? Because before I used to have this green line going all the way across up here, and yeah, so it just meant that the car speakers were just chucking out so much bass when I was talking. It was no good. Or it was more when Joe was doing oh, he's got a bassy voice. But what this does is it adds a little bit of bass to the voice without sort of ruining your speakers. This little dip down here, between the 300 and 500 hertz area, this is a little area, I forget what it's called technically, but use this to remove some of the muddiness in your voice. It adds a little bit of clarity to it that a lot of microphones sort of don't give you. This is a really common sort of equalization adjustment that you see a lot of people do. The next bit up here, this was a personal preference for me because I was having a lot of trouble with my sibilances for like the S's and the ch's sounds that you make, the kind of the piercing bits. So you see if I make a sound, there you go. Can you see that? The yellow bit was up by the 6 there. So that was just to literally tone that down just a little bit. Then past that, I was like, yeah, give me a bit more treble there. It just helps to, you know, lighten the sound of your voice. If you have this super low, then it just sounds really muffled and horrible. So it adds a little bit more clarity to voice. And then cutting off the end bit, I mean, the human ear can only hear to like 20,000 hertz anyway, so I mean anything above this is getting cut off anyway, but you might as well get rid of it, just so it, you know, doesn't muddy up, or not muddy up, doesn't, you know, do anything to reduce the quality of your recording. So this is a preset I've made. Starting out, you probably don't need to do this much. You can probably just lift the bass a little bit, lift the treble a little bit, and you've made it better. That would be what I would suggest to do. Yeah, that's for EQ. So we're gonna apply that to our thing, and you can see, boom, it's churned through that. Done all sorts of gubbins to it, made everything a little bit thicker, a little bit fatter. What I would do next is I would add a compressor, though looking at the recording, it's actually not too bad. All the waves, there's nothing like too sort of like big and spiky, or there's nothing that's like particularly much louder than everything else. What a compressor does is, the easiest way to think about it is it brings the loudest parts down to your quiet parts, which helps keep the volume of everything sounding a bit more even. So it just makes it a bit more comfortable to listen to. The advice that I had from when I was learning it is that while you can use this tool, you want to try and do it yourself in the way that you talk. So rather than, again, I'm terrible with this and all that pummeling because I get hyphy and then I'm like shouting. But if you can kind of relatively control your voice so you're talking at the same volume all the time, then you don't need to add much compression, because again, when you're adding these effects on, it is going to be changing the raw data of your voice. So if you add too many effects on, then you can end up making it worse than better. So this one we probably don't need to compress too much, but for the purposes of showing you what compression does, we might go a little bit overboard. Okay, so here we have compression graph. The threshold, very similar to the noise gate. This is going to be the point at when we want it to start doing its thing. So currently everything over minus 15 decibels is getting compressed. So it's being brought down, it's being made a little bit quieter so it can match our quieter parts. The noise floor, I usually just set this to like the absolute bottom bit of what's being recorded. So say if there's like some quiet sections in my recording, it's usually around minus 40, you could do minus 48, tends to be around where it is. The ratio, that's how much quieter we want to make it. Typically you want to be around 3 to 1 or 5 to 1. I think this is kind of like the radio standard is sort of around them. But the more you do it, the more it's going to make everything kind of sound the same. Fun fact, when I was doing the League Plays edits, I had to use this tool heavily. There was one microphone that was particularly louder than the others, and I had to whack this up to 10, whack this down to like 30, and only then could you get the louder microphone to sound a similar volume to the others. So yeah, this was doing a lot of work. But for this one, what we'll do is we'll have a quick listen just to see what the what the bars are doing, what the volume is. While sleeping, it generates electricity in the sacs in its cheeks. Okay, so our quieter sections are looking like they're around sort of 21. So we're going to use that as our threshold. If I can find the press again, there it is. Okay, so we're going to go to, let's go 21 on the threshold. Ratio, we don't need it to go too far, but we'll go to 5:1 just so we can see a difference. Right, the attack time, that is how quickly we want it to engage, very similar to the noise gate. You pretty much want to have this at 0.1 of a second. It just seems to be the standard. Release time, about a second. So again, how quickly or how slowly do you want the compression to disengage once the volume of your voice has gone below the threshold, if that makes sense. So 1 generally means that it will do it fine and it won't be too noticeable to anyone listening. If you make it too long, then it can be really laggy, and then it might be compressing things it doesn't need to compress. Is my understanding of it. Anyway, we're going to click OK, and boom, it's made everything quieter. Well, it's brought down the louder parts to the quieter parts. So most of this should be kind of like the same volume as all the rest of it. So let's go back to the start and we'll give it a listen. While sleeping, it generates electricity in the sacs in its cheeks. While sleeping, it generates electricity in the sacs in its cheeks. God, that's terrible voice acting, but that's a mighty fine piece of editing. Like I said, I mean, this is relatively amateur editing. I'm not a professional audio engineer, and I don't do anything with radio, but I think it does sound better than what it was before. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you some different recordings that I did on all of my different pieces of recording equipment. So we're going to have a look at these, the Astro A40 gaming headset using the Mixamp that came with it. It's pretty good. Definitely recommend, if you were looking at Astros ever, to have the Mixamp as well, because it just makes everything sound way better. I need to stop looking over there. I've got the camera there, so I just like looking at myself. I've even got it there. So, oh god, if you could see all the times you can see. Yes, I've got the Astro A40s. I've got obviously the Yeti. I've got a pair of Turtle Beach. There you go. What these are the. Oh, no, they're old. They're wireless. I tried to use them for recording with A-League, but because they were wireless, there was lag, and also there was a bit of background feedback. But apart from the feedback, they actually sound really good. I'm looking over here again. From the feedback, they actually sound pretty good. And then the SteelSeries Siberia V2 headsets. These were like super popular like a few years ago when like League of Legends streamers were booming. Like literally everyone had these. I was like, oh my god, I knew it was white, the lights go blue and stuff, but microphone is shit. Sorry. The SteelSeries have gotten better now, but yeah, they're not great. And also using my webcam, so not the actual camera, the webcam, just recordings on that as well. What I've done is, so you'll be able to hear the raw recording that's completely without any post-processing on it, and also with some post-processing applied to it as well. So you can see how we made audio, raw, become good, and we go full circle. There you go. I don't know how this is going to fit into the video. I recorded it in the end because I'm an idiot. But yeah, I'm going to play that now. Enjoy, and yeah, let me know what you think. Oh, also, comments down below if you know which Pokemon we're talking about. Yeah.
If it has sunshine and water, it doesn't need to eat, because it can generate energy from the leaves on its back. If it has sunshine and water, it doesn't need to eat, because it can generate energy from the leaves on its back.
It constantly gnaws on logs and rocks to whittle down its front teeth. It nests alongside water. It constantly gnaws on logs and rocks to whittle down its front teeth. It nests alongside water. A professional swimmer. It can continue swimming for 2 days straight by waving its long tail skillfully. A professional swimmer. It can continue swimming for 2 days straight
by waving its long tail skillfully.
Because so many trainers like the way Pikachu looks, you don't see this Pokemon very often. Because so many trainers like the way Pikachu looks, you don't see this Pokemon very often.
If you try too hard to get close to it, it won't open up to you. Even if you do grow close, giving it too much affection is still a no-no. If you try too hard to get close to it, it won't open up to you. Even if you do grow close, giving it too much affection is still a no-no. This usually quiet and kindly Pokemon has a surface temperature of around minus 240 degrees Fahrenheit. This usually quiet and kindly Pokemon has a surface temperature of around minus 240 degrees Fahrenheit. Let me know which sounds best in the comments below. Okay, so this is one way in which you can edit your audio or post-process your audio. Once you've done this, you would then just click on File, you go on Export, and then save it as whatever file format you want. So I tend to do WAV because it's lossless, so you get the highest quality audio from it. MP3 does have a little bit of compression, but usually it's not enough that you'll particularly notice. All I know is if you're doing it professionally, you always send the WAV or the OGG if you're doing it on Mac, I guess. Yeah, so that is everything I want to show you in Audacity. There are other ways, however, that you can edit your audios. And this is what I do in All Out Powering at the moment, mostly because I'm lazy. But so now I'm in Adobe Premiere. So this is the video editing software that I use for all of my videos. And I've done a cheeky little recording beforehand because the recording, if you try and record at the same time, you can hear it coming through the speakers as well, and it's impossible to try and talk while listening to your own voice coming back at like half a second later. Try it sometime, record your voice, but have it play back to you while you're talking, it's the worst thing. So I've made a recording and I'm just going to show you the basic stuff that I do to it. It's super easy to try and get it sound a little bit more radio-y. So first of all, let's have a little listen to what I recorded. Again, it's another Pokédex entry. Put a comment in the put a comment down below if you know which Pokemon it is. The more it eats, the more fuel it has to make the fire in its stomach stronger. This fills it with even more power. Okay, and again, you could see those bars moving at the bottom there because we've got a little bit of background noise. So, hey, let's start off with that, eh? So I'm going to be in the Effects tab, and I'm going to add, we're going to look for that noise reduction. So there we go. I'm just going to drag the adaptive noise reduction. I'm going to whack it on there. Boom, done. You can tweak with these. Again, it's very similar settings to what I showed before, except for now you've got to figure it out on your own. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I would just go, boom, that's done. This will tend to add a little bit too much noise reduction, but you're not going to be worried that you've got too much background noise coming in. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add on some a multi-band compressor. So it kind of does the job of the compressor before, except for rather cheekily, it also does a little bit of EQ as well. For some reason, you've got to click off of the one you want and then click onto the one you want to get it to actually engage. I don't know why. Premiere's stupid, so Adobe's stupid. And I tend to go for the broadcast one because it just kind of sounds good. And you got all these bars here, and these bars pretty much are doing the same job as that other thing, what I had up earlier that I've closed. The Reaper thing, so it's got all the if I get up the EQ thing again on here. Problems of using computers. Equalizers. Okay. So it's the same as tweaking these bars to make this go up and down. So you've got your low end here, you got your high end here. You control your mud, or you control your mud around. So what I tend to do is I tend to do this, listen to the audio with my headphones, and then add and take away the bass. And then if there's too much harsh S sounds, then I'll tend to lower this one, weirdly lowering it. Actually, let's play it and just see what it does. The more it eats, the more fuel it has to make the fire in its stomach stronger. This fills it with even more power. There we go. So already we can see that it's like a massive improvement. And the best thing about this is you can actually adjust it while listening to it. So I'm going to just click play again. Okay. The more it eats, the more fuel it has to make the fire in its stomach stronger. There you go. This fills it with even more power. There you go. So we can adjust these. You can see that red bar that started appearing. That's how much work the program's doing to cut out that part of your voice. So if you put this down at the bottom, then you're going to get no bass. Put this right up top, you're going to get all the bass that you put into it. Same with these. It's going to be change at what point it cuts into. It mostly just adjusts the threshold here. Adds a little bit gain to it. So gain is essentially, it's like adding amplification to it. So it's making it louder in a sense. You can add gain to all of it on here. Again, this will just make all of it louder. So I'm actually going to set this back to what it was because it did sound all right. And boom, you've done your audio editing for an all-out public episode. Is that? Yeah, and this is just another way you can edit your audio, particularly if you're making videos and you have access to Adobe Premiere. Now, the last thing I'm going to show you. So this is actually, I mean, this could get weird because I'm going to show you the OBS software which I'm using to record this video right now. So you might get some weird, horrible effects. And there you go. There it is. Cool. And you can see that this recording has been going on for nearly 40 minutes. Oh boy. Right. So what I would do in here, and this is what I've done right now to have a work with the audio. So you can see over in the bottom right hand corner here, I've got my audio mix. Oh, sorry, I should say this is Streamlabs OBS. So you might be wondering why this looks different to normal OBS, because it's a special streamer one. So I've got my audio things down here. I've added my microphone, which is the Yeti, as my source. Click on here, and you'll see I've got some filters. Well, filters, what do they do? Okay, you go, oh, look, I remember talking about this. You got the noise suppression, got the noise gate, got the compressor, got this VST2X plugin. What's that? Okay, well, the noise suppression, again, that's going to be cutting out the background noise. I've actually got it turned off because I didn't like how it was affecting the quality of my recording. I felt that the noise gate was sort of doing enough. But I did make it in the first place because I didn't like the background noise, but I managed to get around it with just the noise gate, which is quite nice. The compressor, that just means so that when I get super hi-fi in all our pummeling, it doesn't break your eardrums. And the VS2X plugin, this is actually the Reaper thing that I had earlier. So I had to search for on Google for this. I just typed in Reaper VST plugins for equalization, and it came up on there. And just you follow the installation instructions for Audacity, and then you can get it onto Audacity and on Streamlabs, which is pretty cool. So I think if I click on that, yeah, it says it's open, but it's a bit buggy, so it's not actually open. And yeah, so once I've added that onto it, you get this nice, cool sounding stream. And the beautiful thing about this is it's adding these effects while I'm talking. So it's not like I've recorded something and then it comes in afterwards. Like while I'm talking, it's doing all this stuff live, which is like having your own, mix table thing, or your own DJ set, whatever you want to call it, which is really cool. Last thing I should say on this, when you're recording, over here you can see the volume bars moving about. The compressor obviously will be doing a bit of work to try and affect this, but if you didn't have the compressor on, you don't really want the audio to be going too much into the red unless your stream or your recording is sounding particularly quiet, then you can get away with going up into the red. But you never want the bar to go all the way to the top, because that's when you get your clipping. You really kind of want to be in this yellow area here. That's kind of the sweet spot. So actually I can probably take a little bit off my compressor, because I'm only really just tickling the edge there. And yeah, there you go. Now you know most of my secrets for making audio. Sorry it was waffly and awful, but hey, that's what a JP Plus video is me talking about stuff that I have no license to talk about. If you are looking for more information from a more reliable source, and it was a great source of information for me when I was learning, then I do wholeheartedly recommend you check out YouTube channel going by Booth Junkie. Dude looks like Luke Skywalker for the sequels in in some of those videos, but really he's a professional voice actor. He gives you really great tips for recording. It goes through all the concepts that I've mentioned today in much more detail, much more knowledgeable about it. So really, I should have said just go watch this video, but hey, you're already here, so got ya. I should have been on this stream so you could see it. Ha! Got ya! There we go. This has been this has been another JP Plus video. Next one will be about video creation. So we'll be talking about cameras, lighting, and streaming software that we've already seen a little bit of. Yay! I want to have fun. Make sure you do that. Recording's meant to be fun.